Good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in this vast world of ours. Welcome to another live presentation. Today we're gonna have our friend Marcia Trajano. She's gonna bring us a very important topic, which is becoming your best self. So an important topic that's going to focus on different habits that we need to foster, to bring us, so we can offer something good to those around us. I'd like to see. I don't see Marcia yet. I hope she. Ah, there you go. Hey, Marcia.
Hi there.
Hi. This is quite an interesting topic, becoming your best self. I'm looking forward to your lecture. You've been very busy. You are the founder of the Christian Spiritist community of Atlanta. You founded back in 19, we're on the founders back in 1997, and you had several leadership positions in that particular institution. You were president last between 2017 and 2019. You also were a board member of the Spiritist Federation, also for about 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, as well. You're also board member, and your latest project right now is the Solitude for Spiritual Living that you founded 2022. So you're being very busy with Spiritism professionally. You're also a leader in technology, and you're a leader in project management organization in technology as well. Well, thank you for taking the. Did I miss anything?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you for being with us, and I'm really looking forward to your lecture. So how can I become my best self?
We're going to get to it right now. So, if I maybe put the slides. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And just wanted to say, first of all, thank you. Thank you, the United States Spirits Federation, for this opportunity to be here talking about this important topic, right? And I want to thank you, Glaucio, for introducing me. And for all of you who are watching this, let's take this next few minutes to really embark in a journey to discuss how can I become my best self. So if I keep moving, let me uh, the next slide, and it's just the goals of today, right? So in regards to this presentation, it's just a reflection on our very specific role, our responsibility to identify what and how we need to do, what we need to do, and how we want to live our lives. And it's very important if you think about it. We're given a pretty amazing opportunity to live this lifetime. We're given opportunity to develop, to share this experience. And based on the chapter 17 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, we want to go ahead and review very concrete material and tactical habits that are delineated in that chapter for us. And I believe these guidelines will lead us the way to achieve our transcendental responsibilities that we have. So, as we say there, let's go ahead and discuss how to become better, how to become our best. So, I want to say that we're going to be driving our discussion from, as I said before, the Gospel according to Spiritism, but also from the content by Emmanuel in the book that he wrote through the collaboration by the Brazilian medium, Francisco Candido Xavier. Sorry, I'm tongue tied this morning. And the book is Divine Justice. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the moment we're in. So it's January, it is the beginning of a new year, and most of us are about to conclude this rather cyclical process of self-reflection. For many of us, this has been a moment to create what I call a new personal contract. And this can be written, but most of the times our unwritten agreements are a commitment to the aspiration of this new cycle of our life. So beyond those tactical, palpable, material objectives that we usually put in those agreements. Today, I'm going to share with you this invitation to reflect upon the more transcendental responsibility and to look at a larger cycle, maybe the cycle for those review can be this life that is the result of previous lives, and it predates the next life yet. So in a more mundane view, in addition to focusing on how to become this better version of ourselves, right? And we can do this by, for example, oh, let's register for a new class, a new program, educational program, by perhaps attaining a better professional opportunity, by losing X number of pounds, or even going to a beautiful exotic place out there for vacation, right? But let's think about what are the other types of commitments that deep inside of us we're looking to grasp. And I could say, I would like to be a more patient person. I would like to be more tolerant, or simply a better person. And I hope this is an interesting proposition. Invite everyone to simply pause, to reflect upon what is important right now. Okay, what is essential or critical? What have we achieved? Or if we achieved many things, of those achievements, which ones are long lasting versus the ones that are ephemeral, that go away, right? Which ones will lead us to our own sense of peace? It is important to have those moments of reflection, because we make those agreements, as I said before, and there is a slight danger to actually becoming paralyzed during those thoughts, because I want to achieve so much. For example, I could say, this is tongue in cheek now, but I could say, I want to climb Mount Everest. And I'm like, really? Well, I can't, therefore, I'm never going to climb. And I become paralyzed with all the challenges surrounding that specific goals. And that happens to many other goals, the difficulties, the challenges, the obstacles that are between us and the next goal can stop us from moving from here to the next step. But it's important to know that we are all fated, all of us, to actually achieve becoming our best self. And the name of the game is just to do one step at a time. No quantum leaps for us, I'm afraid. And someone recently mentioned to me, oh, Marcia, you're going to be talking about become your best self. I want to become my best self, but I just I just need to win the lottery to get to that point. And of course, in my thoughts, my immediate response to that was, yeah, okay, I'm going to win the lottery. Are we really ready for that new step, right? That involves, in this case, wealth. Do we have the mental and emotional structure to go through that experience well? And likewise, there are many other dreams that are maybe outside of our current construct of our lives. Maybe I want to be beautiful, I want to be famous, I want to be powerful, whatever that may be. Let's check with ourselves. Are we ready for that? So, the other question that we want to ask ourselves is, does the nature of those achievements, those commitments, they beg us the question, right? Are we even, if not ready, are we even deserving of that. So we say that because if we're not programmed, if we're not, it's not in our plan in this lifetime to use whatever tools that we have at our disposals, to use the knowledge, to use the environmental, social environment, all of the areas that we are inserted upon. If we don't have that, we may simply not be ready, right? And there will be challenges that are just too high or unattainable at this moment for a reason. I could go on to talk about a business book. If anybody has read Strengths Finder, which there's a story about this young football player that was just not equipped to be a star, and he spent his whole life, and he was praised in movies about that. And it's very interesting because it's a parable, if you will, of what to do when our commitments, our desires, our dreams do not match what we're here to do. So if we go back to a more closer topic to what we're talking about today, I would like to maybe remember Matthew. Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 to 30. Um, there it contains the parable of the talents, where Matthew explains the expectations for each of the three individuals that are given a different number of talents. And they are entrusted, right, as the parable goes, to manage what they're giving and be a multiplier, an agent of growth. And as we know, one of them, just in fear, does nothing. He is paralyzed to do anything with that given talent. So I think it's important, the two points and counterpoints here, because we are given opportunities and we are invited to become that agent of growth. If or when we fail, it is also an opportunity for us to reflect upon, what did I learn from this commitment, this challenge, this agreement with myself to become a better person. Did I take the time to look deeply inside of me, to reflect upon, what have I done or have I not done with that talent that was given to me? If we move on a little bit with our discussion today, and I mentioned to you that some of the content of our this topic comes from this really great book by Emmanuel Divine Justice, where he gives us many questions, and one of them, which I put here for your ability to read, is about in chapter 15, when he talks about each existence, right? And he says, as I'm going to read to you because it's quite lyrical, it is as if you are holding on to 1,000-year-old hope, trying to explode within. Let me read it again. It is as if you're holding on to 1,000-year-old hope, trying to explode within. For that reason, we suffer the transient impossibility of achieving the ideal to which you propose. How about that? It is that danger that we mentioned before that is so well expressed in the parable of the talent. What happens to us in the moment of realization that we put all of our energy, all our values, maybe in the wrong thing, or put all of our fears into that, and we accomplished nothing. There is inside of us that hope that fuels us to become better. There's a saying that we have in this planet, right? A lot of very lonely people, and as they prioritize work, and I'm one of those, right? They prioritize work and quote unquote the rat race. There is a certain level of this is what I need to be, and this is evidently not the hope within that is fueling that dream, that agreement, that goal, but it is based on perhaps my family history, my cultural environment. What is that all that I was created in terms of being groomed to become, right? And with that, those individuals, and there are many, many articles discussing that where someone grows and grows and grows into become the C level of a company, and they get there and they said, "Oh my goodness, I spent all my life climbing the ladder all the way up," and they just find out that the letter was on the wrong wall. And basically this is what we're trying to say here. Let us look into ourselves and take the time to see, are we making the wrong choices in our lives? And this is important because facing one's sense of obsolescence, and it comes with aging. It comes with that idea that I'm not really, I don't feel that I'm fulfilling my achievement. That is not easy, and it can indeed lead to emotional bursts of anger, of anxiety, or even aggression. It can even lead to self-hatred. That is not the way. That's not what we're talking here. When Emmanuel talks about the divine justice, he brings another very lyrical passage when he talks about this idea of the dreams, right? We want to achieve the dream, and the dream inside of us is one of truly becoming our best. We aspire to achieve that, and the best way to do it, as it's pointed out, is through knowledge, sensitivity, happiness, and peace. But we often hide our feelings behind well constructed masks, right? Because often the dream is hidden in the illusion, because the illusion somehow is better, feels better, looks better than reality. And the good news here is that life, in any type of experience that we live, life itself presents us the talent or the mechanism to enable this journey toward our own self discovery. Along the way, we really, without much help besides life itself, we come to realize the low significance, the little significance of the trappings of that illusion of a better life, a better me based on material accomplishments, right? Economic, social accomplishment, power, when they are measured against the the inevitable, right, reality of our own death, our own mortality as a body, as a personality, right? This persona that we create, the diseases that come to us, all the even betrayals, all that happens to us when we face them, when we confront them, we then are pushed against the ideas that there's very little to this dream that it was based on illusion. But the important thing here is to note that we are also, um, as we often hear, we are also God, God with a lowercase g, right? We are strong, we are resilient, we have the inner resources that may not be fully developed at this point, but they are here with us within that inner dream ready to be awakened by us. So the answer is to just look for opportunities for us to work on our self awareness, our own self discovery, or in so many words, to move toward not the illusion within the dream, but work toward our authentic self. And when we do this, we are able to understand and to find our true sense of joy, our true sense of happiness. Another component that Emmanuel tells us in this book is a reminder that each existence that we have, each cycle that we have to become better, they reflect how, as a chain, right? How we are still linked to our past, to our debts. So if we think in terms of the rosy colored ideal state in that dream that we want to accomplish about ourselves, we find that there are a lot of moments of pain and suffering. And we find that we often live a life that is somehow dedicated to deal with whatever circumstances we have, right, that we're discussing here. And it's important to be reminded of that. Our efforts, no matter what, will lead us to confront our past failures. And this divine justice that is inexistent for all of us. We need to, Emmanuel invites us to persevere, to overcome the challenges that we're facing. And some examples that exist about challenges that are very close to us can be, for example, in our own family, perhaps the challenge of facing financial difficulties, or in other instances, a home without expressions of love, or even the terrible experience of losing perhaps a mother, a father, or even a child. And Emmanuel asks us to focus on understanding and becoming aware that you do, like I said, as a chain, we're linked to our prior debts. So he tells us, let us be strong and meet the challenges and pay those debts, if you will. And he even says to us, do this without complaining, and with the knowledge that they're there in your own consciousness, and that by confronting them, you will attain that sense of peace. And finally, Emmanuel invites us to be able to not only meet those difficulties, but to think them, right? To think the pain and everything that color our existence, as they are the expression of, if we think there are no quantum leaps, I'm sorry, right? There are no quantum leaps in our existence. We can only grow by going step by step. So those are the expression of the next step that we need to invest an effort, an energy to climb, so that we are able to evolve and we are able to get to a better state of ourselves. So, this invitation here is for a reflection, and it's with the free will, it's our decision, right? We can say, I accept, I accept the challenge, or you can say, not for me. I'm not, I don't feel that I'm strong enough. I'm going to postpone maybe a decade or two. Or I can say, I really cannot deal with this entire challenge that I'm committed to confronting based on my past life, this life or past lives, but I am going to work so that I can reduce my debt. Or we can even have the freedom to say, no, I actually am going to make it worse. I'm going to increase all my debt, and I will postpone the moment when I'll be truly free. So the invitation here is for us to reflect upon our dreams, our desires, and our personal commitments to change whatever it is in our lives that we're ready to change. And let's hope they include to know more, to be more present, to serve, to be happy. Joanna de Angelis brings the notion that human beings were created to love and to be loved. They were not created to complain. They were not created to demand. They're not created to lose themselves in self-pity, right? So she tells us that this is important, and it goes hand in hand with what Jesus told us. Happiness is not of this world. And from a spiritual lens, we know that we're not victims or even the perpetrators of anything. Our life is exactly as it should be, and it's based exactly on this life project that we designed in order to expiate or to learn from them. And it is in the Integral Human Being, chapter 7, that Jonah DeAngelis also wrote that relative happiness is possible and attainable to all of us. Relative happiness is possible, and it's within the grasp of every human being on this earth, provide we, as one of those, accept what happens in life and work as they unfold. So we should, it's important, the message that we should neither demand have demands of ourselves of a fantastic dream out there, because they may not materialize in reality. Or, as she says, fall prey to the habit of being very negative or pessimistic, and confuse happiness with our own mental ill adjustments to our reality. Based on the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, we can conclude that it's question 920 of the Spirit's book. The question is, can human beings enjoy complete happiness while on earth? And the answer is no. No, because life has given to them as either trial or an expiation, but it depends on them themselves to mitigate their misfortune and be as happy as possible while on earth. So we conclude with Jesus' definition for happiness that it is sometimes hard to accept, but it's the only one that will make us happy, right? So let's always remember, happiness is not of this world, and happiness is achieving what we need to become our best self. So let's move on to what I promised you in the next few minutes. Allan Kardec, with what we see in the chapter 17 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, will lead us to this final reflection upon what is it that we need to do to become our best self. And we're going to go through a few of the items that he says to us, and slowly just uh, go through them, and hopefully there will be an inspiration for us to truly attain that level of happiness, the level of, yes, I have some debts to pay and I will pay them, and my hopes inside of me will not burst because I am able to manage through my self-awareness. Shall we? So, as I said before, chapter 17, it's a beautiful chapter, and it starts with Matthew chapter 5, verses 44, 46, 48, where Jesus calls us to love differently. And this is such a beautiful and significant passage, because it really highlights here the need for us to become better, to be better, and at a minimum, this is really at a minimum, okay? It's an invitation for us to not villainize the other, right? And let's think about, and I come to my quickly my mind, who is the worst human being we categorize, and this is a broad brushstroke here, but we are often easy to say yes, in the 20th century, the worst human being that led uh, to such an amount of pain and suffering was Hitler, right? And Hitler himself, he loved. So Jesus asks us, well, how can we become our best self if we are invited to love, but we're not going above being above what Hitler himself considered the worst of the worst individuals in the past century could do. So it's this invitation to love our enemies. And with that, I say let's keep working with that notion of what it is that I need to do to open my my sphere of influence, my sphere of outreach, my sphere of love, so that the enemy, consider the other, the one that does not think like me, the other who does not behave like me, may be embarked, embraced in that circle. If we keep working with this chapter, in there you will find several characteristics of perfection. And I love what it says, right? That the degree of perfection is in direct relation to extent of our love, right? So Jesus is telling us, be perfect as your celestial Father is perfect. Jesus is inviting us and to check within ourselves. How do we do that? How can we be perfect as our Father, our Master, was perfect? And the next slides, I want to go through those tidbits of those tips for us to become our best self and be perfect as our Father. Are we ready? So, chapter item 3 of this chapter, right? We are confronted with the idea that a good person, if you want to be that person that is good, then we are confronted with the idea that if you want to do that, then you need to comply with the laws of justice, love, and charity, and yes, in its highest degree of purity. This is where we can reflect upon, pause, reflect upon the notion of self-awareness, that moment of reflection that can be done in whatever frequency our hearts demands. St. Augustine, as we know, would do those reflection every night, and he would ask himself, have I done anything that violated those laws? Have I practiced in evil or in any wrongdoing? Or, as I like to say it, have I caused any pain to others and to myself? Right? Have I done good deeds? And if so, have I done all that was possible to me? Have I been also able to be an instrument of goodness without um, without uh, thinking that yeah, you've done, but you omitted something else. So just look into where we are, how we are, and that self journey, that self reflection journey is one that will tell us, yes, you're doing, but not quite. Today, you're kind of lazy, and I want us to really reflect upon this, because the frequency by which we do those self reflections can be as intense as several times a day, or as I said before, as St. Augustine did every night before he went to bed. But it can be weekly, it can be in one's even deathbed. It doesn't matter. But we are invited that through this the opportunity to self-reflect, to check on us, to go into this moment of awareness, that we can really see this is my own barometer to know that I am a good person based on my own moral compass. If we go into those tidbits, and as I said before, there are several that I would like to highlight here. The first one is faith. And the gospel, according to Spiritism, tells us that the good person, right, is one that has faith in God. It is so simple. If I have faith in God, if I understand His infinite sense of justice, His infinite wisdom, I know deep inside that nothing will happen to me without His permission. And with that, it frees us from judgment. It frees us from a rebellion, from resistance to all the events that come to our life. Those of us, and I'm putting myself into it. Maybe this is a little bit not humble of me to do this, but that's it. Those who have that faith in God also have faith in the future, right? So there's no need for us to harbor um, thoughts that are triggered by emotions of fear, that leads maybe to those emotions will lead to anxiety or or depression because things are happening to us. No, we're good. We have faith that everything is going to be okay, that all the vicissitudes of life, all the pain, all disappointments, everything that we go through are there for a reason, and that I will go through them because I am strong enough. I have the resilience to overcome all of those challenges. Charity. I love this component of this item within the chapter 17, because it is the idea of being charitable, right? It's also given the sense that as a charitable person, I am one that loves, but loves, it's an active type of love. It's love in action as translated by charity. So if I do have those feelings of charity, I do good for the sake of doing good. I don't expect anybody to look at me doing good, being good. I don't expect accolades. I don't expect any payments, right? And in light of a moment of hurt, of pain from whatever, I can still be good. And that's really amazing, right? When we are attacked or feel attacked, and we're at that point, we say, no, I am a charitable person, and I know this person was not able to be better than who he or she is. Therefore, I will repay that act of causing me pain, still with goodness, with charity. As we speak of goodness, we move on to the next attribute or characteristic of a good person, which is goodness, right? And in the gospel, we see that when you're when you have this characteristic, this attribute of goodness, you're always good, right? It's not a I'm good when I'm gonna play here when I have my coffee that is warm and it's perfect. I'm not good when I slept by X number of hours that I need to sleep. I am not good when everything is good. I am good always. I am benevolent. And most important, I am benevolent to anyone, regardless of who they are. It again remotes us to the sense of loving your enemy from the lens of understanding your enemy as the other, right? So if the other, it has a different race, a different belief systems, a different opinions, even different language, a different behavior, a different body type. It does not matter. They're there, and I am good to them all. I respect their beliefs, their convictions, and I do not judgment for whatever they are. And this is really important attribute because, as you know, we're going through such a time of divisiveness in the world that we need to be reminded that we being good to only those that think and behave and are good like ourselves is just like, as we mentioned before, not a little more than the worst of the worst person in the world, as we call it. So this is just an invitation for us to think about diversity, to think about inclusion, to think about the notion of coexistence. So let's move on to, as we're about to wrap up our talk today, with the idea of tolerance. And in the gospel, again, we are invited to think about a characteristic of a good person as one that is indulgent with the weakness of others, meaning we don't gossip, right? We don't take pleasure in seeing somebody else fall. We, if we are witness to that fall, metaphorically speaking, of that person, the loss of that person, we do everything in our power not to call attention to them. We need to look at those like we too are still very young in our maturity. And I would say there's so much to unpack in this quality of a good person, because the tolerant, or tolerance as a quality, requires vigilance, it requires awareness, it requires understanding of our own imperfection. It requires us to really be looking for how can we protect those who may be struggling, right? And we can take many examples, and with examples that crawl into my mind as I'm talking about it, I understand that we are all, the entire human race is going through some sort of suffering or pain. And this is the invitation for us to be tolerant, just like perhaps when we saw our young baby learning to, from the stage of learning to crawl, to walk, to its first steps, and we look at the literal falling down as an area to not judge, but to celebrate, and especially celebrate that the child gets up and try the next step. So let us all be one that can celebrate everybody's in their moments of failure, that the moment they also get up and do try again. If we keep moving, it's very important. I'll go very fast now. Is the fact that from the point of awareness, which we already mentioned previously, we have to see that what the gospel according to Spiritism is telling us is awareness is simply the habit of studying oneself, studying our own imperfection. And as we start to be able to perceive, because sometimes we're blind, it's the so-called blind spot in our own self-awareness, right? It's in the aspect of our either our shadow or our unconscious. But when we start to become aware, when we start to become conscious of our own imperfection or imperfections plural, to make a decision to go ahead and work to confront them, to overcome them. And we should do this with all that is available to us, all of our tools, our strengths, so that tomorrow we're able to say, yes, I got it. I am better today than what I was yesterday. When we talk about the next trait, which is humility, and it's just an area that is very, so broad, right? But it's the good person, as we see here, they're humble, and by being humble is shift the spotlight, if you will, from you and all your accomplishments to highlighting that spotlight of the other, very much like a parent celebrating that one or two steps of a child when the parent may be a marathon runner, right? This is not a comparison. So once we become humble, we move that spotlight, we move the highlight from look at me, how amazing I am, to the spotlight of others. And it's really all about understanding that we are given so much, and it's the opportunity that with humility to step away from the pride of any personal advantage that we may have received, or personal wealth or education, etc. This is in this incarnation. Things may change next time. When we move on to selflessness, right? And it's a sense of opposite from selfishness. When we are selfless, it does not mean that we have to give away all of our possessions, but use and not abuse them. And understand that each talent, if you will, that was given to us, each possession that were made available to us, is one that should help us to move forward as an agent of growth, as a multiplier of those. If we are keep going to kindness, because it's so beautiful that with all those attributes of a good person, we come to term that a good person is the one who's kind, right? Especially if that person is put in a position of power, a position of leadership across all of their those the sphere of influence that this person has. We are all brothers and sisters. Let us be kind to one another, especially knowing that we're all going through some challenge or another. And finally, we're here to sorry, I thought I was fine. To respect, right, is the idea that from respect we need to understand all the differences are there for a reason, and by respecting we're loving, and understand that life will happen, life in all its beauty. So I end here with this invitation for all of us to become our best self. And remember that these are not all the qualities that will distinguish that good person, right? But just in trying to become a better person, we are attaining a level of happiness and peace. So I hope these words touch your heart, and let's see if we have some questions to answer right now. Um, I cannot hear you. I don't know if it's me.
Oh, yes, unmute. Yeah.
It's not me. Hello
It
again.
wasn't you.
How are you
So
doing?
no, I like the way you ended it, indicating that life happens. So no matter how hard we try, circumstances will. There are circumstances that will hit us, and we just gotta do our best, or be our better selves, or be our best. We do have several questions, so ready when you are.
I'm ready.
If we're not victims, how come there are times in our lives when it seems that everything goes wrong?
Oh, that's a good one, right? Within the, and this is awesome. If we think in terms, first of all, that we are immortal souls, that we have this long journey, right, that goes from being quite immature spirits, we call it simple and unaware spirits, in the dawn of our creation, in the individuation, to the spirits of light. As we mature, we are able to look at that chain that Emmanuel was talking in his book Divine Justice, right? When we look at it, and that type of mentality for the question, the person who gave the question about everything seems wrong, right? Everything is bad. I am poor me. Everybody is attacking me, and it's important for us to see if there is no such a thing as a victim, I need to take that opportunity to look what is prompting me to, first of all, feel like a victim. Does it mean that perhaps I have a sense of either inferiority or superiority, right? Inferiority as, oh, I don't deserve and everything is bad, or the superiority, which is, I'm here and I don't deserve this type of things that are happening that I translate as an attack. And this is very interesting to us when we start to especially in the past few months, Glaucio, I've been reading a lot of the psychological series by Joanna De Angelis, and we hit upon that idea of self-awareness, self-discovery, and also to look at the mechanism for looking within ourselves, right? If things don't seem to be warranted, why is this such a catastrophe happening to me? Well, maybe it was something that precedes this life in our consciousness, our awareness, materially speaking, of what's going on. But it's important to think that faith, right, and prayer are two good mechanisms for us to establish a sense of equilibrium, a sense of balance that will help us to be stronger. We are giving the resilience required to face each and every challenge that we go through. There is a reason behind, and we're strong enough. And if you don't feel strong enough, there are many mechanisms, including therapeutical help, to help us get unstuck from that sense of. I'm going to call victimization without any judgment, that sense of powerlessness and vulnerability, right? That sometimes we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I like the way you worded it. Not so much being a victim, but sense of powerlessness. Yeah, I like
Yes.
the way you explained that. How can we try to stay positive when we behave as our worst selves?
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the question. What can we do to stay positive? Well, first of all, I think it's important for us to look into uh, what is the judgment of behaving of our worst selves? What does it mean? So we went through a guideline that we find in the gospel according to Spiritism, right? What it is to be a good person. And we know that this is just the beginning, as it says there, but we know there's some areas that we just are not ready. Let us focus on the areas that we can. So let's think that we are, and this is really important to all of you who may be listening to me right now, we are the best version of ourselves. Please believe me, we are the best version of ourselves today. We are, this is a fatality, right? This is a, we are fated through the law of progress to always be better, to progress, to grow, to know, to become a spirit that matures through that very, very long, and I put my hands here because I see this in my mind's eye, this long trajectory to pure spirit. But today we're the best version of ourselves. So when we think of behaviors of ourselves, it just means maybe we slipped, we failed. Let's look at that. That's the great opportunity to look at the quote unquote failure, to know what did I not learn? What did I forget? What can I do differently so that I cannot commit the same mistakes? Let's be loving and gentle to ourselves as well. And in this journey of self awareness, self discovery, this is a very common habit to look at yourself and be the worst enemy by condemning yourself. And that will lead to guilt, that will lead to a number of reactions that are really not helpful at all. So let's start with self forgiveness, within the self awareness, and let's move on with, okay, this was a mistake that I know I can do better. So why was I not better?
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Would you say that loving our enemies is actually good for our mental and physical health?
So let's that's a very good question. So thank you for the question. So let's break down, as I try to talk about the concept that Jesus brought to us, right? And it's important for us to remember that probably this was the most revolutionary aspect of Jesus' teachings: love thy enemy. If you look into sacred texts, you don't find that prior to Jesus. In this beautiful, beautiful new nugget of inspiration and growth as the beautiful angelical spirits that we're all going to become, when we start to profess the idea of loving your enemy, it really means that in our construct of what is my friend, what is my enemy, I start to again in through self-awareness to deconstruct why is that person threatening my ego, why is that person becoming the expression of my failure, and knowing that there is no such a thing, then we start to feel better. And I think when we talk about it's good for your mental and physical health, I really go to the idea of that we are better mentally and physically because we obtain our balance, and all of our hormones are stabilized. We don't have surges of, for example, adrenaline, because your enemy is the one who I'm going to fight, right, or flee from,
Right.
as a very ancestral brain types of reaction require us. We don't need to exercise any of that. There is no cortisoid thrown into us because there's no such attack. And from that perspective, it is all about a sense of maturity that will provide us with a sense of stability, of peace, of love. One thing that I think Glaucia may have told you the story, it's a story that I love from the Dalai Lama. Real quickly, the Dalai Lama, as you know, he was on exile and he met after 20 years his good friend who stayed behind. He was another monk, and both of them had about 20 years of same age as they started, but 20 years of difference. One on exile and subject of torture, and the other, the Dalai Lama, that we know his story. But what I want to bring here as an example of this mental and physical health was the fact that the Dalai Lama, and he writes in one of his books, he talks to this monk, and he's just like, "Whoa, you look so good." And those are my words, right? Not the Dalai Lama. But basically, he was saying, "You did not age beyond the 20 years, just like me. What have you done? If you look at all the other people, they have aged through the constraints of humiliation, physical torture, and everything, incarceration, etc." And the monk said simply, if I, every time that person, that instrument of my own torture, would come to me, every time I look at them with love and compassion, because if I didn't, I would be just like him. I would be judging and try to put down the other person, and I would not be better than him. So because of this, this is who I am right now. And this is just a beautiful invitation for us to think, how can I really be a better person? And it's to overcome all that we bring with us in terms of judgments and preconceived notions of the who the other is, and how can I expand myself to be a loving being, therefore becoming our best self.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Marcia, we have one last question for you.
Sure.
Can you explore the difference between being proud of our achievements on our evolutionary path and being a proud person as opposed to a humble person?
This is a very good question again. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Because a lot of us understand that as it says in the Spirit's book, right? The two areas, the two sources of failure, if you have, those are my words, are watch for pride and self-centeredness. And we're often saying, what do you mean by that? Does it mean that I have to fake a sense of humility and not express the sense of pride of our own accomplishment, as you put here? And the idea that we're given is that it's okay to feel good about your accomplishments. We should all be celebrate our wins, but it's when we use those accomplishments to feel that we're better than, right? So as we looked into that little description of being humble, it is we don't need to put the spotlight in us. We know. I don't need, for example, to come to you right now and say this is not the truth, but I'm pretend that it is true, that I am, I don't know, the most patient person in the world. And look at me. I need you to look at me. I need you to give me my sense that I'm best. I got the prize of being the most patient. That's not necessary. That's where we want to talk about being proud. The other things that we want to look from a definition of pride, and we often mistake that. But the sense of falling for the egoic trappings, right, where your ego, from a structure perspective, is requiring you by fulfilling the demands of this world, which are external, that are material, that are ephemeral, for you to reach that so that you can strengthen that egoic structure. And that journey, we know, is a journey not of authenticity. It's a journey of creation of illusions, of our masks, our personas. And we, in truth, need to go the opposite from there, which is the look for our true selves, humbly so, looking at all of the imperfections, all the failures, all of those moments of powerlessness with love, and embrace ourselves as we are with the need to become better each and every step of the way.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was the last question. I appreciate the time you took to bring this very important topic to us. Do you have any final comments to finalize, to wrap up your talk this morning?
I just hope these words that we shared here today, Glaucio and all, are as inspiring to you as they are to me. They have been to me, and I really, really appreciate being here with all of you.
Nice. Maria Oliveira said it was an enlightening lecture. I do, yeah, I do second that. It was very enlightening. Um, so just as a reminder, our cycle of lectures continues. So next Saturday we're gonna have Flavio Zanetti. He's gonna talk to us about Spiritism, a message of liberation, which is very interesting. In a way, it is related to your topic. Also now, wow, but actually this conversation does not just stop here, right, Marcia? There's now a new series called Psychology and Spirituality, a bridge to better life. And so based on the works of Joanna de Angelis and Marcia, you're very involved with that lecture. So actually it is every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and starts next week. So stay tuned. Marcia, would like to tell us a little bit about this
Oh, it's an
project?
exciting, yeah, it's an exciting series of discussions. And it's very important for us to understand it's a podcast like series of talks about concepts found in the works by Joanna de Angelis. And they are really bringing us closer to understand the concepts of psychology that you find in the psychological series and the notions of spirituality. So, not one without the other, but both. And what I'm really excited about it, Glaucia, is that this is bringing this discussion of Joanna de Angelis, which we find in many different languages, but into English, so that it's very accessible to those who speak this language. So I'm really, really excited, and I invite all of you to tune in this next Friday, the 3rd of February, and listen to Psychology and Spirituality.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Marcia, thank you very much for, again, I hate to repeat the same comment from before, for such an enlightening lecture this morning. Would you like to say our final prayer?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Glaucio. And if we can perhaps close our eyes as we are centered in this knowledge and the faith that we're one with God, in the knowledge that we're all blessed with the opportunities of reincarnation, with the knowledge that we have in front of us the tools to become a better person. Dear Lord, bless all of us who are listening to this talk today, our families, and especially those that we call our enemies. So be it.
So be it. Thank you.